Why can the Jedi kill, but Batman can't? The Jedi have killed sentient life in all 6 Star Wars movies, and yet we don't see them as bad people or immoral for it. Sure, some people may try to be nerdy with the Star Wars prequels by looking at the great at worst moments of the Jedi killing and saying that the whole point of it was that the Jedi lost their way, which may be true in some ways, but not for reasons of killing, since Luke, under the direct guidance from Force Ghost Kenobi, blows up the first Death Star, which had over 1 million Imperials inside of it, in the very first movie, A New Hope. Luke blowing up an AT-AT near the start of The Empire Strikes Back and trying to kill Vader before he knew Vader was his father, or Luke in Return of the Jedi where he's around the peak of his Jedihood, yet still ends up killing various thugs of Jabba so that he could save his friends, or even Yoda and Kenobi telling Luke to kill his father, even though they ended up being wrong about Vader in the end. All this proves is that the act of killing via self-defense and manslaughter instead of full-on murder is something endorsed and fine with George Lucas, the creator of a top-tier, deep, thought-provoking brand like Star Wars, only being rivaled by DC. But why can't some of the more cringe parts of the Batman fandom accept that Batman can kill without being a bad person like he did in nearly every other live-action movie beyond BVS that a loud vocal minority of geeks ranted at for some reason? Batman killed in his very first appearance. He also killed in the book The Dark Knight Returns. Not just the Joker, but even a regular criminal that was holding a child hostage before Batman shot her, with a burst of a machine gun, to which one could assume that the criminal died. Snyder in 2013 also said this critically acclaimed and very well sold book inspired his work on BVS that released in 2016. The author of the book, Frank Miller, who's friends with Snyder, is on record saying he liked the movie's Batman. So therefore, this petty Batman killing complaint objectively isn't a comic accuracy issue, and it's just a bunch of people pretending it's a rule because they were raised on comics past the 90s that were censored, and cartoons that were forced to censor superheroes around the 90s. But we luckily don't have those censorship rules anymore in the modern day, but yet the childish mindset of how heroes should never kill is still around, and it just doesn't make sense. The Jedi are seen as heroes in the eyes of a lot of people within the universe of Star Wars, or people in real life looking upon the brand of Star Wars. They still undoubtedly see the Jedi as good people, despite some mistakes they may make, like a lack of proper guidance that gave Anakin that sent him into Palpatine's arms, or their arrogance of not being cautious enough with Palpatine earlier when they were signs, via Count Dooku literally warning them about it, and then rushing into dealing with Palpatine via a botched arrest/assassination attempt. The Jedi are the good guys, and the kills don't matter because the Jedi only kill in self-defense, or the defense of others like the heroes they are. It's taken to such an extreme that a more perfect Jedi, like Kenobi, followed that rule to an extreme when Anakin was defenseless after Kenobi cut off all of his limbs, and he still decided to not finish the job, even though one can say he should have. Now, Batman is also a hero, whether he kills or not. When Batman does kill, like within BVS and its comic inspiration The Dark Knight Returns, it's also in self-defense, or defense of others, such as every vehicle he shot down in BVS with his Batmobile or Batwing being a vehicle that shot at him first, or kills in defense of others like the warehouse scene in the comic where Batman shot a criminal holding a young child hostage, or BVS with another warehouse scene where Batman shot a fuel canister of a flamethrower being used by a criminal holding Martha hostage. Batman and the Jedi basically have the exact same code despite differences like Batman weaponizing fear. Both Batman and the Jedi aren't murderers despite what the various shitty YouTubers say, as every kill I just explained in this video is manslaughter instead of premeditated murder. You can read the definitions here instead of being retarded and objectively misusing the word murder, as these shitty YouTubers try to call Snyder's Batman Punisher in a batsuit, even though he doesn't kill every criminal, such as him not killing this human trafficker in the very first scene, and all of his other kills being self-defense or the defense of others, with the one exception that the film treats like a bad thing, being Batman attempting to murder Superman before coming to his senses. With all that being said, are the Jedi just Punishers with lightsabers? Is Iron Man just Punisher in an Iron Man suit? Is Captain America just Punisher with a shield? The list goes on and on. I'll repeat that people aren't bad people for killing bad people. If someone dies doing the wrong thing and detrimenting society, then it's not going to be the end of the world if they're killed. In Attack of the Clones, Jango Fett could have stayed in the bleachers of Geonosis beside his son or Count Dooku, who didn't order him to go down there as far as we saw. He already proved his worth to Dooku by scaring off Padme out of the political arena so the Emperor could thrive, and then having a role in capturing Padme along with Anakin anyway, and defending Count Dooku by helping battle droids make Mace Windu retreat, or by shooting down a Jedi Master that tried to attack Count Dooku out of nowhere. But no, Jango couldn't be content with the fat pay he was going to get from a rich person like Dooku, and he flew down for more and got himself killed trying to kill Mace Windu while he was distracted fighting a war. Even if Mace Windu didn't kill him or just cut off an arm of his, this would not be the place to make an arrest of someone who was armed to the teeth and may have tried something with his other unsevered arm. This is different from Obi-Wan's New Hope scene where he spared someone trying to harm Luke by just cutting off their arm since they were in a bar and the people he was dealing with wasn't as much of an armed or capable threat as Jango. Whether they kill or not, the Jedi don't initiate these conflicts for any of these kills, which even includes Anakin before he became Vader. But anyway, Mace did nothing wrong, it's on Jango, and you'd be an idiot to argue otherwise. Sure, it's sad that it happened in front of his son, but that's still Jango's fault. Now I know some people will say that a vigilante like Batman is somehow just different than Jedi fighting in a war, but good is good and evil is evil. I don't think it should make a difference no matter what aspect of life or time one is in. Morality is the point. They'd have a point if I were comparing Batman to RoboCop, but the Jedi aren't officially cops, and in the words of one of their main council members second to Yoda, they're keepers of the peace, not soldiers. But they're still willing to drop bodies for the greater good, as they did in all 6 Star Wars movies. The only bad Jedi kills that qualify as murder are kills with Anakin, like Anakin not sparing Dooku when he was quite literally disarmed, or Anakin with all the Tusken Raiders, and even that moment wasn't unprovoked as they tortured and killed his mom for no reason. The film still treats this as a bad moment and a red flag foreshadowing his downfall into Darth Vader, despite Padme still being with him, because a decent percentage of women would ignore the red flags if it's someone they love. Batman and the Jedi aren't officially the law, especially when the Jedi were outlawed after Order 66, but they were still dropping bodies. Superhero viewers should be able to match the maturity of the more mature Star Wars viewers, which is actually a sad sentence I have to say with how certain less comprehensive Star Wars fans behave like man-children at times. Getting mad over manslaughter and being too stupid to understand the difference between murder and manslaughter is just a childish way of looking at the world and is horrible media literacy of just wanting to stick your head in the sand and keep your art useless and sanitized like the censored 90s era. By trying to separate the deeper themes from the real world, even though directors like Snyder and Lucas put these things in their movies because they want you to think about the world you live in. Whether it be Star Wars warning you to stay conscious of the world around you so that evil powers that wish to suppress people don't rise in the midst of a fake manufactured conflict meant to distract you and accept bad policies along the way. Or Snyder's BVS with some similarities to Star Wars teaching you how fake news can put people against each other, whether it be Superman or Batman or the people within the world who start to hate Superman because of biased media. And that's me being brief of both of those brands. Certain DC fans need to do better instead of strawmanning an immature speech from a 2005 Red Hood comic that can't apply to reality about Batman not killing because he'd be unable to stop himself from killing the wrong people, which therefore would make that type of Batman less mentally mature than most of the military soldiers who killed, and could still remain good people, such as my grandpa who fought in World War II. A speech like that doesn't debunk Batman who kill in movies or a more successful book where Batman killed despite his speech about guns being the weapon of cowards in that book where he used one 3 times, like when he shot a thug in the warehouse. Nobody cares if it's an Elseworlds book instead of a canon book, since most of DC's best rated and best sold stories are Elseworlds, which would include most of Batman's movies where he also kills. Batman shouldn't be less emotionally mature than most military soldiers, or every Jedi including 2 teenage girls, one who defended herself and her Jedi Order, and another who performed a quad decapitation on Mandalorians who burnt an innocent village down, yet still had enough maturity to not lose herself. Not to mention a 12-year-old Padawan defending himself by killing clones as he tries to escape. The kid probably wasn't afraid of losing himself. Like what Batman was saying in that overrated Red Hood speech, which is honestly something I would call inferior to the retelling of the story in Arkham Knight, where that corny speech was never said after subtly being confronted on the pain his no-kill rule caused. And then he actually switched up his methods a little in reaction to Gotham City not changing, instead of keeping his methods detrimentally the same. Whether it be the Jedi or Batman or reality itself, death resolves conflict, or fear, and fear of death via an authority figure keeps people's bad urges at bay when fear becomes the perfect substitution for one's lack of intelligence or good morals. And that's just a lesson of this video. People need to be ready to get their hands dirty. There's no mess that was cleaned without someone getting something dirty to clean it. It's just one of the many things in this galaxy, whether it be a long time ago or the present day, that only makes sense when you force it to.